Hello friends, I'm Kayla. You know the drill by now. Every couple months I pull up a bunch of books that have been recently announced or recently had cover reveals, and we read the synopsis together and we decide if we want to read it. Kicking it off with some sequels. Number 1 is The Wayward Children book number 9. This is number 8, Lost in the Moment Found. Number 9 has been announced as being titled Mislaid in Parts Half Known. So in this we follow a character named Antoinette or Ancy, and we're in her magical world. And so as every other book is in Eleanor West's home, in number 9 we are back with all the kids and Antoinette is there. And what we discover about Antoinette in here has to do with other doorways, and she kind of has to protect herself from the kids taking advantage of her in Eleanor West's home and her kind of ability or knowledge that she has gained. So it says she's forced to flee in the company of a small group of friends. I wonder who's going to be on this quest with her, looking for a way back to the shop where lost things go. Along the way, temptations are dangled, decisions are reinforced, and a departure to a world populated by dinosaurs brings untold dangers and one or two other surprises. Quite a few of the magical worlds were introduced to us in Across the Greengrass Fields, and I've been looking forward to going to the dinosaur world of many others that we learned about in that one, so I think it's going to be great. I'll be picking it up. Can't wait to see the cover. We also got a title announcement for Finley Donovan book number 4. It's going to be called Finley Donovan Rolls the Dice, and we know in it her and Vero are on a road trip to Las Vegas. Here's my fake cover that I designed that I predicted a while ago. I guess this is still my prediction, but I need to change the title. So that's what I think it's gonna look like. Then I recently talked to you about the fact that Moon of the Crusted Snow is getting a sequel. We knew the title was gonna be Moon of the Turning Leaves, I think, and then we just got the cover. The cover is so pretty, I can't get over it. I was hesitant about if I wanted to continue because this doesn't feel like something that needs a sequel, but I was vaguely interested. It's on my radar shelf, and then the cover, obviously now I need to own it. This one takes place 12 years after the events of this, where the power goes off. In this Anishinaabe community, it says, resources in and around their new settlement are beginning to dry up, and the elders warn that they cannot afford to stay indefinitely. Well, I don't want to spoil the events that happen, so there is a group of people elected to lead a scouting party to seek new beginnings and discover what kind of life and what dangers still exist in the lands to the south. Next up, the prequel to Legends and Lattes officially got a title and cover. It's called Bookshops and Bone Dust, and we're learning more about Viv. Wounded during the hunt for a powerful necromancer, she's packed off against her will to recuperate in the sleepy beach town of Merk, so far from the action that she's worried she'll never be able to return to it. She ends up hanging out at a bookshop, and there's a little adventure with a gnome, a suspicious traveler, a summer fling, and an improbable number of skeletons. Then it was recently announced, which I did not expect, that we're getting a sequel to What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. It's called What Feasts at Night. I don't know that I love the cover, and I don't know that I needed a sequel. I gave it in the mid 3-star range, but it says, Alex Easton, retired soldier, returns in this novella-length sequel. When Easton travels to Galatia as a favor to Miss Potter, the locals whisper of a strange breath-stealing being from Galatian folklore that has taken up residence in Easton's home and in their dreams. That's coming out about a year from now. Let me know if you'll be continuing in the series. I mean, if I'm gonna read a series, I do love a novella series, so maybe I'll pick it up. I think that's it for sequels. Now let's move on to books from authors that I've read from before and their new thing that's coming. So I talked about this one, Midnight is the Darkest Hour, recently from Ashley Winstead, and I got a cover. It is one of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen. It has definitely got me more hyped about it. I can't remember if we have read the synopsis together in one of these videos or if it came out with the cover. So let me just read. This is a twisted tale of murder-obsessive love and the beastly urges that lie dormant within us all, even the God-fearing folk of Bottom Springs, Louisiana. In her small hometown, librarian Ruth Cornier has always felt like an outsider, even as her beloved father rains fire and brimstone warnings from the pulpit at Holy Fire Baptist. Unfortunately for Ruth, the only thing the townspeople fear more than God and the devil are the myths that haunt the area, like the story of the Low Man, a vampiric figure said to steal into sinners' bedrooms and kill them on moonless nights. I don't think I've read this. When a skull is found deep in the swamp next to a mysteriously carved symbol, Bottom Springs is thrown into uproar, and Ruth realizes only she and Everett, an old friend with a dark past, have the power to comb the town's secret underbelly in search of true evil. This sounds similar to The Last Housewife, as far as the investigation goes. I don't think it's going to turn out to be paranormal at all. At least that's not what I would expect from this author. It's an examination of the ways we've come to expect love, religion, and stories to save us, the lengths we have to go to take power back, and the monstrous work of being a girl in this world. Then speaking of beautiful covers, I don't know if you're all on the same page as me, but Happiness Falls is so stunning. It is by the same author who wrote Miracle Creek, which I enjoyed, Angie Kim. It says, when a father goes missing, his family's desperate search leads them to question everything they knew about him. I think I've read the synopsis before, but we didn't have a cover yet. So we've got this family. Mia is a 20-something-year-old daughter in the family. Her younger brother, Eugene, and father went for a walk in a nearby park and didn't come back. At some point, Mia's brother comes back through the front door bloody and alone, and he's the only one that knows what happened. But because of his genetic condition, Angelman syndrome, he cannot speak. So now the clock is ticking to solve this mystery. It's equally a family drama, and yeah, I'm excited to read it. Okay, then I just saw this one pop up. What Kind of Mother by Clay McLeod Chapman, which doesn't sound like something that I would pick up normally, but I'm reading this author for the first time this month for my Literally Dead book club, so I will kind of gauge based on this if I want to read this one. It's a gothic kind of horror. It says, after striking out on her own as a teen mom, Maddie is forced to return to her hometown, Brandywine, Virginia, with her 17-year-old daughter. With nothing to her name, she scrapes together a living as a palm reader at the local farmer's market. It's there that she connects with her old high school flame, Henry, now a reclusive local fisherman whose infant son Skylar went missing 5 years ago. Everyone in town is sure Skylar is dead, but when Maddie reads Henry's palm, she's haunted by strange and disturbing visions that suggest otherwise. As she follows the thread of these visions, Maddie discovers a terrifying nightmare waiting at the center of the labyrinth, and it's coming for everyone she holds dear. That's a well-written synopsis. It comes out later this year. I don't really like the cover, but it does have the ominous vibes that fit with the story. So let me know if you're intrigued. I will figure it out later if I'm gonna pick it up. Then we've got Starling House by Alex E. Harrow, who I read The 10,000 Doors of January from a couple years ago and didn't like it, but based on certain things and certain reasons that you'll see in this weekend's upcoming video, I think I need to try Alex E. Harrow again. I saw the cover, thought it looked intriguing, so let's read the synopsis. A contemporary gothic fairy tale about a small town haunted by the history it can't seem to bury, and the canny, clever young woman who finds herself drawn to the house that sits at the crossroads of it all. Starling House is odd and ugly and fully of secrets, just like its heir. Opal knows better than to mess with the haunted houses or brooding men, but it might be a chance to get her brother out of Eden, and it feels dangerously like something she's never had, a home. But she isn't the only one interested in the house, or the horrors and wonders that lie beneath it. If Opal wants a home, she'll have to fight for it. She'll have to dig up her family's dark past and let herself dream of a brighter future. She'll have to go down into Underland and claw her way back to the light. What do you think? It's tagged as fantasy, adult, horror, gothic, fairy tale. This one doesn't yet have a cover, but Renee Watson, an author I enjoy, is writing her first adult novel. It's called Skin and Bones. It says Skin and Bones is about who society makes space for, exploring themes of sisterhood, motherhood, history, race, faith, love, body image, and ultimately what one generation passes down to the next. Watson shares the story of Lena, a plus-size woman at a seemingly steady and stable moment in life, happy in love and in friendship until her world suddenly shifts. At 40, Lena finds herself grieving a major loss while still responsible for a child and a meaningful work project on Oregon's Black history. Sorry, that sounded like a comma. It was a period. That's all we got. Next up, we've got Akweke Emezi, and they recently announced they're coming out with a Black Southern Gothic speculative romance. And I think that's the only information there. It's called Son of the Morning, and I'll obviously be reading it because I read absolutely everything they come out with. And I think a speculative horror romance sounds like it's gonna be a great time. Speaking of horror, another Rachel Harrison got announced. It's called Black Sheep. I'm obsessed with the cover. It's just that perfect, like, cute but unsettling pink. It says a cynical 20-something must confront her unconventional family's dark secrets in this fiery, irreverent horror novel. Nobody has a normal family, but Vesper writes is truly something else. Vesper left home at 18 and never looked back, mostly because she was told that leaving the staunchy religious community she grew up in meant she couldn't return. But then an envelope arrives on her doorstep. Inside is an invitation to the wedding of Vesper's beloved cousin Rosie. It's to be hosted at the family farm. Have they made an exception to the rule? It wouldn't be the first time Vesper's been given special treatment. Is the invite a sweet gesture? An olive branch? A trap? Doesn't matter. Something inside her insists she goes to the wedding, even if it means returning to the toxic environment she escaped. Oh wait, even if it means reuniting with her mother, Constance, a former horror film star and forever ice queen. Okay, that was a lot to take in. I don't really like culty stories. That seems like what it is. I love wedding stories and I don't like fame stories. So there's really a mix of things going on here. I have such mixed history with Rachel Harrison. These like campy horror books, I want them to work for me so bad and they often don't, but I'm gonna be reading it. I am. Then we've got a new Caitlin Starling, author of The Death of Jane Lawrence, a Literally Did book club pick. It's called Last to Leave the Room. I don't know that I love the cover, but it says it's a genre-busting speculative horror. The synopsis reads, the city of San Sirocco is sinking. The basement of Dr. Tamsin Rivers, the arrogant, selfish head of the research team assigned to find the source of the subsidence, is sinking faster. As Tamsin grows obsessed with the disordered dimensions of the room at the bottom of the stairs, she finds a door that didn't exist before. And one night it opens to reveal an exact physical copy of her. We've got doppelgangers. We've got obsession. Okay, the doppelganger is sweet and biddable, where Tamsin is calculated and cruel. It appears fully, terribly human, passing every test Tamsin can devise. But the longer the double exists, the more Tamsin begins to forget pieces of her life, to lose track of time, to grow terrified of the outside world. As her employer grows increasingly suspicious, Tamsin must try to hold herself together long enough to figure out what her double wants from her and just where the mysterious door leads. I have to have it. God, I wish the cover was more intriguing to me. Like, I know that it does fit like the story, but it also is just feeling YA and like Gossip Girl. Let me know if that intrigues you. Then from A.S. King, she is editing and contributing to a short story collection called The Collectors. I've read almost all of her novels and I think I've only read one short story from her. So it's interesting that she is working on this anthology. It says, from David Levithan's story about a non-binary kid collecting pieces of other people's collections to Jenny Torres Sanchez's tale of a girl gathering types of fire while trying not to get burned, to Jean Nary's piece about 1970s skaters seeking opportunities to go vertical, anything can be collected, and in the hands of these award-winning and best-selling authors, any collection can tell a story. So there's 9 YA novelists in here, and it's a collection of stories about collections. Next, let's talk about Peter Swanson. We've got a Christmas thriller coming fall of this year. It's called The Christmas Guest. Let me know which cover you prefer. The UK one looks so much like classic fun murder mystery vibes, so I'm wondering if that's gonna be the tone of it. Oh my gosh, okay, wait, it's a novella. It says it's a spine-chilling novella in which an American art student in London is invited to join a classmate for the holidays at Starwood Hall, her family's Cotswold manor house. Her main character's name is Ashley. She's invited by Emma to come to the hall. She's mesmerized by the cozy firelit house, the large family, and the charming village, but also by Adam Chapman, Emma's aloof and handsome brother. But Adam is being investigated by the local police over the recent brutal slaying of a girl from the village. So it's a novella. That's so interesting. I think that actually made me more intrigued to pick it up. Then when I read A Dash of Salt and Pepper by Kosoko Jackson, I didn't love it, but I said I would definitely read more from him. So there's one recently announced called Wrangled and Entangled. And it says it's a gay rom-com set on a family ranch in Montana, where a city boy licking his wounds post-breakup finds himself falling for the cowboy who never wanted his family legacy reduced to a tourist attraction in the first place. This is going to come out spring 2024, and I will be reading it. I quite like this cover, so I don't know if it's from the same like publisher, but I'm interested to see the cover, so I'll keep you updated when that comes out. And the next 3 books are from authors that I haven't read from yet, but are on my TBR. So I wanted to talk about the next thing that they're coming out with. From the author of Such a Fun Age, Kylie Reed is coming out with a book called Come and Get It. And I think I talked about this before, but it didn't have a cover. The cover is definitely not what I expected it would look like at all. I love it. The covers, the pig, it's just not what I expected. So this says it's a fresh and provocative story about a residential assistant and her messy entanglement with a professor and 3 unruly students. Our main character's name is Millie. She's a senior resident assistant. She just wants to graduate, get a job, and buy a house. So when Agatha Paul, a visiting professor and writer, offers Millie an easy yet unusual opportunity, she jumps at the chance. But Millie's starry-eyed hustle becomes jeopardized by odd new friends, vengeful dorm pranks, and illicit intrigue. A brief description for sure. It's 400 pages, comes out January 2024. Let me know what you think. Are you going to be picking it up? Next up, from the author of A Mind Spread Out on the Ground, Alicia Elliott, has this book with its stunning cover coming out later this year. It's called And Then She Fell. It says it's a mind-bending novel about native life, motherhood, and mental health. We've got a couple who recently moved into their new home in the wealthy neighborhood of Toronto, a generous gift from her in-laws, but Alice could not feel more like an imposter. She isn't connecting with Dawn, her new baby. She recently lost her mother, and she's her neighborhood's sole Indigenous resident. She has a goal of writing a modern retelling of a story I've never heard of. It's tagged as horror. It says Alice cannot fight the feeling that something is very, very wrong. That in her creation story lies the key to her and Dawn's survival. She just has to finish it before it's too late. I'm definitely intrigued. Then just today, the cover of A Tempest of Tea, same author as We Hunt the Flame, Hafsa Faisal, came out. I think it's so pretty. And I know I talked about this one in an earlier video where it just had the title. It's the one that's a duology, and it's pitched as King Arthur meets Peaky Blinders with vampires. It follows a gang of outcasts in a deadly heist led by Arthie to save her tea room, which fronts an illegal blood house where local vampires can purchase fresh blood. Can't wait. So those are all the things from authors I've read before, sequels, things that I feel comfortable like putting on my radar or on my TBR. Then we have a stack of like 10 things that I don't know anything about these authors. A lot of them don't even have covers. I just see the title and I'm intrigued, and we'll see what happens. So running through these quickly, we've got one called An Inheritance of Magic. Just the title alone makes me want to read it. It's by Benedict Jacka. And it says, in a world where everything magical is brought up and controlled by the super rich, Stephen has inherited a natural talent for magic. Plunged by his father's disappearance into a glittering world of dynasties, warring patriarchs, and vicious scions, Stephen must navigate magical high society and learn to control his gifts. Fate's Bane by C.L. Clark. I'm looking forward to seeing the cover. It says, the clans of the Fens enjoy a tenuous peace, and it's all thanks to Agnir, ward and hostage. For as long as she can remember, she's lived among the enemy, learning their ways, growing strong alongside their children. When a burgeoning love for the chieftain's daughter lures them both to a hidden spring, a magic awakens in them that could settle feuds once and for all. Then there's one called After the Forest by Kel Woods that the cover really grabbed me. It says it's a dark and enchanting fantasy debut that explores the repercussions of a childhood filled with magic and a young woman contending with the truth of happily ever after. I'm really into the idea lately of like fairy tale stories for adults. It says 20 years after the witch in the gingerbread house, Greta and Hans are struggling to get by. Their mother and stepmother are long dead. Hans is deeply in debt from gambling, and the countryside lies in ruin, its people starving in the aftermath of brutal war. Greta has a secret though, the witch's grimoire. I also have something from Tor called The Night Guest. The author's name is Hildur Knutsdottir, which is wrong. It's translated by Mary Robinette Cowell, and it says the Night Guest is an eerie and ensnaring story set in contemporary Reykjavik that's sure to keep you awake at night. We have a main character yet in another doctor's office. She knows her constant fatigue is a sign that something's not right, but practitioners dismiss her symptoms and blood tests haven't revealed any cause. I think this is a novella, a horror novella. When she talks to friends and family about it, the refrain is the same. Have you tried eating better, exercising more, establishing a nighttime routine? She tries to follow their advice, buying everything from vitamins to sleeping pills to step counting watches. Nothing helps. Until one night, she falls asleep with the watch on and wakes up to find she's walked over 40,000 steps in the night. What is happening when she's asleep? Why is she waking up with increasingly disturbing injuries, and why won't anyone believe her? I have to have it. I also added the September house that recently got a cover reveal to my TBR. It's by Carissa Orlando, and it says a woman is determined to stay in her dream home even after it becomes a haunted nightmare. We've got Margaret, and she and her husband Hal bought a large Victorian home. Then they discover it's haunted. Every September, the walls drip blood. The ghosts of former inhabitants appear, and all of them are terrified of something that lurks in the basement. Margaret is not most people. Margaret is staying. It's her house. But then her husband leaves. Now she's alone in this haunted house. Oh my. Then I saw this one and the cover made me have to add it. It's called Your Shadow Half Remains by Sunny Moraine. It's another horror novella. It says The Last of Us meets Bird Box, a post-apocalyptic tale where eye contact causes people to spiral into deadly, violent rage. Riley has not seen a single human face in longer than she can reckon. No faces, no eyes, not if you want to survive. But when a new neighbor moves in down the road, Riley's overwhelming need for human contact makes her throw caution to the wind. Somehow, in this world where other people can mean a gruesome, bloody death, Ellis makes her feel safe. As they grow closer, Riley's grip on reality begins to slip, and she can no longer fight her deepest desires. All Riley wants to do is look. Okay, also from Tor, they recently posted a little teaser. It's a book from Wendy Wagner called The Creek Girl. It's going to come out in 2025, and it says it's a tense cli-fi cosmic horror novel, so it's climate fiction, set in a rural Oregon forest that seems to consume anyone who enters. That's all the information, but it's now on my radar. And then I also added one called Lost Ark Dreaming. It's a novella from Sui Davies Okanboa, a standalone near-future cli-fi novella. Off the coast of Old Lagos, decades after the dangerous rise of the Atlantic Ocean, the region's survivors are crowded into the Fingers, 5 partially submerged kilometer-high towers, originally designed as a playground for the wealthy. Now the tower's most affluent rule from their perch on the topmost floors, while the rest are crammed into the dark, fetid floors that now lie beneath sea level. There are also those who are left behind for dead, only to be reawakened by ancient power. That's a 2024 one. So those are all books coming out in 2023, 2024, and 2025 that I am interested in. Let me know if you learned about anything that you're now going to add to your TBR or not. I don't know. Thank you very much for watching. I love doing these videos and just organizing everything that I've come across over the last couple months. I will see you soon in this weekend's vlog. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Is it? I don't know. And I'll see you then. Bye!